They vanished without a trace. They hid the evidence. But every secret has a file. The truth is hidden. We find it.
This is a map of the Elizabethan world. The 3,000-mile expanse of the Atlantic stood as a formidable barrier, isolating the known world from Virginia. Imagine civilians stepping off a ship right here, tasked with building a permanent society entirely from scratch. If something went wrong, they couldn't call for help. A plea for supplies would take months to cross that ocean, and months more for a rescue ship to make the return voyage. From the exact moment their anchor dropped, these colonists were operating without a safety net. Their survival hung on a single, incredibly slow lifeline back to England. They landed on the Outer Banks, a shifting, unpredictable chain of barrier islands constantly pounded by Atlantic storms. This map, drawn by colonists, shows Roanoke surrounded by dense native settlements, a tiny English footprint inside an established indigenous world. They chose shallow coastal waters to prevent Spanish warships from attacking, but those same shallows trapped their own large ships from orchestrating an evacuation. Within just a few months, their European provisions ran dangerously low. The harsh environment yielded little food, forcing the leadership into a desperate corner. The very geography that protected them also trapped them. With no overland escape route, the colony was locked into a ticking countdown against starvation. Faced with total collapse, the colony's governor, John White, made the agonizing choice to sail back to England to secure an emergency relief fleet. He left his own daughter and newborn granddaughter on the island. Before departing, White established a strict emergency protocol. If the settlers had to evacuate the island, they were instructed to carve their destination into a tree or post. If they were under duress, they were to carve a cross above it. But right as White arrived in London, Europe erupted. The Spanish Armada attacked, and Queen Elizabeth grounded every available English ship to defend the homeland. Back on the island, the colonists watched the horizon. A few months of waiting stretched into an agonizing 3 years of absolute silence. On the ground, conditions degraded rapidly. Their wooden infrastructure rotted, their agriculture failed in the sandy soil, and their numbers thinned. Roanoke ceased to be a functioning settlement. It became a purgatory for 100 stranded people, waiting for a ship that history refused to send. When John White finally returned 3 years later, he expected to find a struggling, desperate group of survivors. As his ship crept toward the shoreline, the crew noticed unsettling red flags. No signal fires were burning, no lookouts paced the beach. The island was completely silent. Breaching the perimeter of the settlement, they found it entirely deserted. The houses had been stripped to the ground, and the entire area was overgrown with weeds. Typical historical disasters leave grim evidence. A massacre leaves burned structures. A plague leaves mass graves. Roanoke had absolutely none of these. There was zero sign of a struggle. Whatever happened was a deliberate, highly organized evacuation that left no physical trace. Examine what they left behind. This illustration shows the star-shaped earthworks. The palisades weren't smashed, they were carefully unbolted. Looking at these grassy mounds today, the forensic footprint reveals a highly organized defense. An unrecorded ambush wiping everyone out without a trace is impossible. The word CROATOAN was found carved into a post, conspicuously missing the distress cross White had requested. But as the search party prepared to follow the trio to the neighboring island, a massive hurricane hit the coast, violently snapping their thick anchor cables and forcing the damaged ship back toward England. The physical site aggressively defies a simple explanation. It proves the settlers survived long enough to execute a structured retreat, but the trail freezes the very moment they stepped outside the fort. The vanishing of Roanoke represents a completely missing page in the colonial ledger. It stands as the foundational ghost story of early America. Did they assimilate into local indigenous tribes? Did they try to sail a tiny boat back to England and perish at sea? Or did they succumb to starvation on a neighboring beach? There is evidence for all these theories, and proof for none. When a historical event ends without a body or a grave, it creates a vacuum. It strips away all the hard, grounded facts and replaces normal people with haunting, mythic archetypes that echo through our folklore. The true legacy of Roanoke lies in the profound, enduring silence they left behind, a permanent reminder of human vulnerability on the edge of the unknown.